In this video, we'll take a look at the new Deity HDTX wireless transmitter and audio recorder. This is the Deity Connect interview kit. This kit is loaded with stuff, and it would take me way too many hours to do it justice in a single video. So this is the first in a series of videos covering the kit, starting with the recently announced Deity HDTX. I'll be looking at all the features and menus with some suggestions, mainly testing the audio recording capabilities in this video, then testing the wireless capabilities with the Connect kit in the next video. Right now I'm using the Deity S-Mic 2S, awesome mic by the way, into the HDTX recorder. All of the audio recorded in this video has not been post-processed except to normalize the sound levels. I received this kit free of charge from Deity, no obligation, and they've had no input into the making of this video. If you get the unit by itself, you get the Deity HDTX transmitter recorder, a cable for charging the unit, a holster with belt clip, manual, and warranty. Totally solid unit, all metal construction except for the push buttons on the front and the micro SD card cover, which is rubber, meaning it doesn't have a little plastic or metal door that will break off. The sides do have some plastic, but that's because the wireless transmission is internal. On this side, a headphone jack is very welcome addition, as you can monitor the sound being transmitted and recorded, as well as listen to the recorded files on playback. Headphone volume can be set in the menus, which you'll see in that section of this video. On a lot of micro SD card units I own, they recess the card slot, making it really hard to insert and eject the card. I like that the micro SD card slot on this unit is larger and leaves room for my fingers. The unit takes these widely available micro SD cards and accepts up to 120 gigabyte cards. Trust me, that's plenty. An 8 gigabyte card will give you about 8 hours of recording time, so with larger cards, you're looking at days. Audio is recorded using standard 24-bit 48 kilohertz uncompressed wave files, which is excellent and plenty for most people's needs. This battery and card system work hand in hand. The unit predicts if you're about to run out of battery power and ensures your current recording is safely saved to the card before it shuts down. Additionally, if someone presses the power button in the middle of a recording, the unit takes the same action, ensures the recording is saved before powering down. Next is the USB-C port with an included cable for charging the unit using your computer or the widely available plugs most everyone owns nowadays. Charging from complete 0 to 100% takes about an hour and a half. Yes, the battery is built in, but if you do the math, it has 500 recharge cycles, and if you recharge it from 0% to 100% every day, 5 days a week, which is unlikely, that's nearly 2 years. So under normal use, you're going to get many more years than that. Plus, Deity offers a replacement battery service for all their products. I didn't know that. Apparently, no one knows about it as no one has needed it, but that definitely gives me peace of mind and future-proofs this device. Apparently, you can open the unit and replace the battery itself using these screws on top, but I don't see needing that for years to come, and I would probably let the pros at Deity handle that. This unit easily got 10 hours in my tests, and that's with 48-volt phantom power going to the microphone. I can only imagine how long it would last using something that doesn't use phantom power, like this Deity V-Mic Pro that supplies its own power. Up here you can see the unit accepts both XLR type mics as well as 3.5mm type microphones, a real plus as it covers all microphone types, and as you upgrade to higher grade mics, you're covered. Not only does the 3.5 accept both screw connectors and plug-in connectors, but this connection system on top for an XLR mic is ingenious. On the Deity, you push the mic on, twist this screw until tight, and this mic is going nowhere. You don't run the risk of it falling off or not being totally connected, something I've run into on all other units. To remove, unscrew the mic and it pulls off gently, well thought out and a really great feature. On the front, we have brightly lit yellow click-type buttons. Turning the unit on takes a long press, about 2 seconds. The unit shows us a great-looking OLED screen that is easy to read and helpful when using it in bright lighting conditions or outside in sunlight. You can see the battery level and whether you've got an XLR type mic or a 3.5mm mic attached, indicated by the TRS light. The VU meter shows the input level of the mic and is really handy if you've got the unit set too low or too high in clipping, which is indicated by these two bars. The upper right audio icon shows if the unit is muted or not, done by clicking the power button once to mute, then again once to unmute. You can turn that feature off in the menu system, as you'll see later. The ID number we'll cover in a moment. Internal recording is quite simple. Press record to arm, again to record. You can pause the recording and unpause it again to continue with the current recording, or press stop to end the current recording. Same with playback. You can play the recording, pause, and continue or stop. I like the simplicity, but you'll find all sorts of features and goodies in higher-end audio recorders and transmitters when you enter the menus. Press Menu to enter the system and use the up and down arrows to move, the Select button to choose. Use the Back button to back out of the menus and again to the main screen. I love that pressing the menu button again brings me back to where I was. If I'm trying to set frequency boost, for example, I don't have to scroll all the way down to where I was. Let's start with the top menu, Input Type. This is where you select if you're using an XLR type mic or the 3.5mm type. Next is Mic Level. You'll see that you get the VU meter to see the levels so you can test them, and the peaking bars at the top. Scrolling up sets a plus level, scrolling down sets minus levels, meaning you can add or take away loudness depending on your mic type and what you need. Volume works the same way, plus for more, minus for less, and is used to set the output of the headphone jack. Here you can turn the limiter off or on. Limiters attempt to salvage audio that is way too loud. In other words, they try and keep your audio from clipping. These are not digital limiters, but analog limiters, which is amazing that this has analog limiters built into it, usually found on upper range recorders costing thousands of dollars. Now I'm going to do two tests with the limiter off and the limiter on. I'm gonna yell really loud, and I'm gonna show you the volume and how it peaks and how it limits the sound from clipping. So you might want to turn down your headphones or your speakers or whatever, and I'll give you about 5 seconds. First thing is I'm gonna yell with the limiters off, and it's really gonna clip. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is the HDTX without the limiters on! Now I go in and set the limiter on, and as you can see when I back out to the main screen, it shows limit that it's on. Now I'm going to yell into it again, and we're going to see how these limiters work and what they do to the sound to keep it from clipping. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is the HDTX with the limiter on! Very respectable, and that could make all the difference between audio that can be salvaged and audio that can't be used or corrected in post. The low cut options are phenomenal, and they let you dial out precisely rumble and other irritating noises depending where you are shooting. A good idea to check with the headphone jack if you have these sounds occurring. These go from 20 Hz all the way up to 200 Hz. I would like to note two features I'd like to see in a future firmware update. One is I have to press the button every time to move down a selection. I'd like after a second or two pause while holding down one of the arrows to have it auto scroll through the menus. The other is when I get to the end of a long list like these low cut options for it to wrap to the top. Not a big deal, just a suggestion. You can set the frequency boost, a very nice feature for things like lav mics, as some higher end frequencies get absorbed by clothing when hiding these mics, or if you're using this mic with a blimp. Mute is simply another way to mute the unit, similar to clicking the power button once. RF power allows you to power up the radio frequency transmission to the receiver. Mine is set to auto, meaning the receiver will send a pulse to this unit and will auto-adjust the radio frequency to help prevent signal loss. This also increases battery life, so you won't be using more power than the system needs. We'll see these tests in the follow-on video. User ID allows you to assign an ID to each transmitter in the case of multiples, and note that these signals are encrypted. Pair will attempt to pair the unit with any receiver in range. Firmware allows you to see the latest version, which you should always do when purchasing a unit like this, and see if you have the latest version. Many new features and problems can be fixed by simply updating your firmware to the latest version, which is what the next menu does, update. The website tells you how to do this, and it is usually very simple, such as downloading the new update to a micro SD card and selecting this option. Autolock tells the unit how long it takes to lock the screen and buttons for safety. If the unit does lock, it will let you hold down the up and down arrow buttons simultaneously for 3 seconds to unlock. I keep mine at never, as I don't have other people around messing with my stuff, but a great feature if you have people that do. Hotkey simply says the power button will mute the unit when pressed once, and you can turn this on or off. File gets you access to the recorded files on the micro SD card. Not only can you playback, delete, or delete all files, you are able to name the files as suits your productions. System Reset sets everything back to the system defaults as shipped, such as when you're messing with the settings while learning it and you want everything back to normal. Date and time allows you to set the current date and time. This is important to make sure your recorded files are properly time-stamped. Language is self-explanatory, English or Chinese, I think, and I'm sure they will add more languages via firmware updates as this unit needs it. So you can see, although a simple looking unit to use, you can really get into the nitty-gritty details if you need to. Now, I've recorded some silence, and although that's more of a test of the S-Mic2S noise floor, which is very respectable, I wanted to see if the HDTX introduced any noise from the unit. This looks incredibly respectable for a recorder of this size, and actually quite surprising. Here's a few more things you should know. This isn't just for shotgun mics as I am showing here. The availability of these features allows you to plug in any shotgun mic like my Deity S-Mic2S, S-Mic2, Rode NTG, and Rode NTG5. I can also jack in a Singer mic type like the Shure SM58 or a podcast mic such as my Shure SM7B. Then you have the 3.5mm jack accepting my Deity V mic, Rode Video Mic NTG, or any 3.5mm for that matter. These can be handheld, which gives you the freedom to walk around and not have a fixed mic, such as doing interviews. I can also jack in a lapel mic and use the unit as a standalone recorder, handy if I need freedom of movement, possibly mounting the mic on myself or the talent, and using this included holster clip to contain the recorder. Right now I'm using the recorder as an out-of-frame mic above my head, mounted on the end of my boom pole, and that works well too. That's why all these settings are important, as you can tailor the unit to record the best possible audio from whatever microphone you happen to be using under many different applications. Now, in case anybody asks, it looks like I'm eating the mic. The mic's actually sitting about 12 inches away from my mouth. Now, this unit can both record and transmit at the same time, which is really cool unless you live in the United States. If you hit record while transmitting, the wireless transmission is disabled, and that's by design. Don't blame Deity, that's because a company called Zaxcom holds a patent behind that technology. And don't blame Zaxcom either, as they were the first to marry that tech together and are protecting their development costs. HDTX units shipped outside of the US are not limited in that way, so lucky non-US people. Maybe Zaxcom will loosen up a bit, or some deal will be struck, and we'll see that in a firmware update as well. But seeing how Zaxcom sells similar units that transmit and record, probably not anytime soon. And sure, you can go buy a Zaxcom unit similar to this one, but be prepared to spend over $1,000. The buttons on this are quite clicky. You might be able to hear that when I press these up and down arrows. I was kind of turned off at first by these, but after using the unit, I set everything up beforehand, and I'm not really using the menus during recording, so it's not an issue for me. I've heard one comment about the bright yellow buttons and how talent has to remember to turn the recorder towards them, otherwise it looks bad. Maybe so, but I don't think it looks bad at all, and for people like me who wear glasses, I despise having to use a magnifying glass to see the menus and buttons, so I'm okay with it and actually appreciate the easy-to-read controls in the larger OLED screen. If this were only a plug-on recorder and not a wireless transmitter, I think it's a great deal at $249 as of January 2020. Add in wireless transmission capabilities and you got some amazing all-in-one audio tech for that price. I'll definitely be using this to do interviews and record audio at the upcoming NAB trade show, which means I can dump all this stuff in my carry-on, not have to worry about recorders and bags and cords and all that. In the next video, we'll be covering this unit's wireless capabilities, test that to its bounds, but I can already tell it does not disappoint. Links are in the video description below, and don't forget that $5,000 giveaway which Deity has kindly offered up their award-winning Deity V-Mic Pro location kit, plus 20 other products totaling nearly $5,000, which ends on January 21st, so make sure you enter right now. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. If you saw my giveaway video, we had some fun and rocked some folks' worlds by subscribing to their channels. I'm going to keep doing that for channels that offer great content and post consistently. They have no idea I'm doing this, but let's go subscribe to Deity's YouTube channel. They offer weekly audio and sound tips, and you'll find their channel quite useful. Tell them a basic filmmaker sent you.